Okay, so let's go back to the code editor and I'll cut and paste some code I prepared for the name of the restaurant and this kosher certified sign right here underneath of it. So if I just place it the way it is now, first let me explain what is going on here. The first thing is this navbar brand. And this is something, again, the Bootstrap documentation will tell you that any branding, like the name of the company, should go into this navbar brand under this navbar brand class. And what we're doing here is we, again, putting it inside of an ahref. So this David Choose China Bistro will be a clickable region. And we're also putting it inside of H1 because this is the most important thing about the page, that is the name of the restaurant. So that's as far as the name of the restaurant is concerned. The next thing is this little star, this star K, this kosher sign. And this is just a logo, right? So it's just an image and it's very small. So we don't really care about responsiveness for this particular one because it is that small. And then we just have a span inside of it that just says kosher certified. Well, let's save this. Let's go ahead and go back to our browser, and not quite exactly what we expected. It's kind of pushed down here, and this is kind of ugly looking. But the first thing is we need to kind of take this and move it right here in this region. The reason this is going down is because this is nothing more than a div. So this is a div, and this is a div. So obviously they're stacking one upon the other. Well, since David Choose China Bistro is wrapped around with the class navbar brand, and that already is floated left, as long as we make the logo float left, we'll have nicely David Choose China Bistro aligned to the right of the logo. Well, let's go back and do that, but we're going to do that in a Bootstrap way. And the way you do it in a Bootstrap is you apply, in this case, to this region right here, which is our logo, and we'll apply a class called Pull Left. And pull left is basically float left. And obviously we could, put a style attribute here and say float left, but that would make this whole thing a little bit dirty looking. So we're just going to stick with the Bootstrap class names that they came up with. So if we go back to the browser, oh, look at that. Now everything is to the right of that because we're now floating the element with the logo. Okay, so let's go ahead and now style this a little bit better. We certainly don't want this underline length on here. That's number one. Number two is if you look at our design, the font is different. And you can see here, business name font is called Laura. So the really first thing we should do is we should go back to our code editor and import this Laura font. And I'm going to ahead and pause the video real quick and import the font the same way we imported the Google fonts for the Oxygen font. Okay, so here's our Laura font, and I went through the exactly same procedure in google.com/fonts in order to pull it out. So now let's go ahead and go to our styles.css, and we'll cut and paste some code I pre-baked for our navbar brand. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to give it some padding. We're going to basically push it down a little bit, so we'll give it some padding top, about 25 pixels. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to style the actual name, right? The brand name. And we're going to say navbar brand H1, that's the restaurant name. And here's our Laura family font. We're going to give it a little bit of a different color. The color is going to be green. This is what we are basically doing according to our design. And we'll increase the font size just a tad. We'll increase it to 1.5 ems. And what we'll do is we'll make the text uppercase, so we'll all stay uppercase the entire time. We'll bold it. We'll put some text shadow on it, and this is something we haven't really seen before, but I'll let you go ahead and research how to do this yourself. This is not really so hard. And we'll do margin top 0, margin bottom 0, and we'll decrease the line height just a little bit to kind of tighten up the whole thing. If you remember, we also had like an underline, like a link thing going on there, and we really want to disable that, and that's called text decoration. So what we're going to do is we're going to say navbar brand a hover and navbar brand a focus, either one. We want them not to have any underline type of link decoration. We just want it to be clickable, but not look like a regular link. The other thing that's left here is to style this kosher cert thing, and all we're doing here is just basically giving it a color, transforming the case, everything to uppercase, and decreasing its font size just a tad to 0.7 ems. And again, keeping the margin top 15 just to separate it from the actual brand, the David Choo's China Bistro. It'll get separated a little bit more by 15 pixels. And the last thing is we want to vertically align our star K span. So if we look at the index.html, there's a span here that says kosher certified. So what we're doing here is we're saying that when you get to that span, just vertically align that text. And the reason we're doing this is because we want those words kosher certified to align in the center of that star image, that star K logo.png. Okay, so let's take a look at our browser and see what we came up with. Okay, not quite what I expected over here. You could see that this is working just nicely, and it has a nice shadow here, text shadow, and you can see it's clickable, but this is kind of sticking right up there. So let's go back to our CSS and take a look as to what we might have messed up here. Oh, I can see what's going on here. There's a little typo here that we need to remove. It was kind of the ending of a comment that got left there. Let's take that out of here and see if anything else. I think that's good. We'll go back, and now sure enough it's displaying how we actually wanted it to begin with. So that's pretty good. So we're good to go here. And I just want to do one last thing. We don't always want to display this logo. As we squeeze the browser, if it's maybe a medium screen, a large screen, we want to keep this logo. But then we're going to be, if it's smaller than that, we're going to start fighting for real estate. And I don't want to do that. I want to remove this logo and only leave the name of the business. So only when it's small. So let's take a look at what we could do in order to achieve that in Bootstrap. Okay, so if we go to index.html, there are a couple of classes that Bootstrap defines that lets you basically say that this element should only be visible at a particular breakpoint. And they're called visible MD. And what I'm saying is, if the screen size is medium, I want this element, this ahref element, to be visible. But if it's anything other than, at this point, medium-sized screen, I don't want this element to be displayed. Well, if I put that plus, I also want it to be displayed when it's large. So now this element will be visible when the screen is large or when the screen is medium size. Well, let's try this out. Let's go back to the browser, and our new styles should have already been injected. So at this point, if I just squeeze the browser and make it's medium, you can see, by the way, how the container jumped. So now it's a little bit more space here, so it's going to keep our site centered here. And if I squeeze it a little bit more, boom, it's gone, and we still have to fix that, at least at this particular breakpoint. But you can see now that the logo is gone, and it's gone because of those responsive elements. And if I stretch it back out, it comes back out to life again. Okay, so this is a pretty good start to a header, and we'll see you in the next video to continue developing the site.